Our text is from the Gospel of John. The Apostle John was one of Jesus' closest disciples and wrote his Gospel to reveal the true identity of Jesus as the eternal Son of God. Our lesson unfolds in the midst of the Festival of Booths in Jerusalem, about 6 months before Jesus would be arrested and crucified. The Festival of Booths, also known as Sukkot, was a joyful celebration where Israel commemorated their ancestors' journey through the wilderness after Exodus from Egypt. During this festival, the Jewish people, lived in temporary shelters or booths to remind them of their dependency on God during their wandering. This festival not only had historic value, but it also had religious significance as it highlighted how God had been faithful, providing shelter and food during their wandering years. Some expected a grand entrance, but Jesus didn't even accompany his brothers at the beginning of the festival. The people were anticipating a political king, which Jesus refused to fulfill. Before he showed himself publicly at the feast, the crowds were debating, with some saying he was a good man, but others saying no, on the contrary, he led people astray. Now, in the midst of the celebration, Jesus enters the temple and begins to teach. This event marked a turning point, and the crowd quickly gathered around him. They are astonished, amazed at his audacity to take on the role of a religious teacher in the temple when he lacked the credentials from the Jewish authority. They were trying to discredit Jesus in front of the crowd by alleging that this man, and that was a derogatory term at that point, this man purported to be learned, but he had never been educated in the Jewish training schools. When challenged about his lack of formal education, Jesus replies that his teaching came from the one who sent him. He emphasizes that his teaching was not personal, but divine. The lesson here is that God's truth doesn't rely on human credentials, it stems from a direct connection to God Himself. Jesus tells the people how to discern true teaching, saying, if anyone is willing to do His will, God's will, he will know whether it is of God or not. In essence, if we come with a willing heart to obey God, then God will show us the truth about Jesus and those who are teaching us. Jesus contrasts his motives with those seeking self glory. He displays humility by seeking the glory to go to God and not himself. This teaches us the importance of aligning our actions and our intentions with God's glory rather than pursuing our own recognition. Then Jesus called out the hypocrisy of the Pharisees, who outwardly followed the law but lacked true righteousness. He reminded them of his healing of a man on the Sabbath, illustrating what the Sabbath was all about, to honor God and to show mercy. And for that healing, Jewish leaders were trying to kill him. The crowd, which consisted of Jews from all over Israel and all over the world, some were aware of the plan to eliminate Jesus, but some were not, and they accused him of a demon induced paranoia. For modern Christians, our actions should reflect genuine obedience and compassion rather than merely following the rules, checking off the boxes. Jesus further destroyed their argument, saying, well, you guys want to kill me, but Moses gave the law which required circumcision of a baby on the eighth day, even if that eighth day fell on the Sabbath. You could still purify one part of the body with circumcision on the Sabbath. Then why is it wrong for Jesus to heal the entire man on the Sabbath. The Pharisees weren't letting reason and compassion guide them. No, not God's love. They were looking at the letter of the law and being ludicrous. This lesson should teach modern Christians a few things. First, just as Jesus' authority did not come from human credentials, our worth and our influence aren't determined solely because of our worldly achievements. Our connection with God and the authority of our faith matters more. Second, instead of seeking personal recognition, we should focus on glorifying God through our actions. Humility and a heart aligned with God's purpose leads to a meaningful impact in all that we do. Third, Jesus demonstrated that genuine obedience involves living out God's principles with integrity. Mere adherence to rules falls short of what God expects of us if we lack love, mercy, and compassion. By seeking to glorify God, cultivating authenticity, and practicing integrity, we navigate in a modern world that challenges us. We can stay true to the timeless principles of Jesus and be an example here on earth. That's the lesson for this week. Have a great week. Bye.